What if I told you that children with the highest screen time often score higher on autism screening questionnaires? Does that mean screens cause autism? No, but it does raise an incredibly important question. Why does this relationship keep showing up in study after study? The answer is much more interesting and much more complicated than most people realize. Let's look at what the research actually says. Here is the first surprise. When scientists give parents autism screening questionnaires, they are not asking, "Does your child have autism?" Instead, they ask about behaviors. Does your child respond to their name? Do they make eye contact? Do they point to share something interesting? Do they pretend play? Do they use gestures? Do they notice facial expressions? Do they enjoy back and forth interaction? These are behaviors that autism screening tools are designed to measure. Now here is where things get interesting. Multiple studies have found that children with heavier screen exposure often score higher on these screening questionnaires, even when they have never been diagnosed with autism. So why? The first possible explanation: screens replace social practice. Imagine trying to learn basketball without ever playing basketball. You could watch thousands of videos. You could memorize every rule. But unless you actually practice, your skills never develop. The brain learns social communication the exact same way, through conversations, shared smiles, joint attention, taking turns, watching facial expressions, reading body language, responding to another person. Every conversation is exercise for the social brain. A screen simply cannot provide the same experience. The more screen time replaces real human interaction, the fewer opportunities children have to practice the exact behaviors measured on autism screening questionnaires. Now here is something that many people never consider. Scientists still do not know which comes first. Does more screen time contribute to more autism-like behaviors? Or are children who already have early social communication differences naturally drawn to screens? Think about it. For a child who finds people confusing or unpredictable, screens are incredibly predictable. They never interrupt. They never expect eye contact. They never ask questions. They never require conversation. Everything happens exactly the same way every single time. Some researchers believe increased screen time may actually be an early consequence of developmental differences rather than the cause. Another fascinating discovery: young children learn language much better from a real person than from a screen showing the exact same lesson. The information can be identical. The difference is interaction. A real adult waits, smiles, points, changes their voice, responds to the child, follows what the child is interested in. Scientists call this serve and return interaction. It is one of the most powerful experiences for building the social brain. Even educational videos cannot fully replace that. Now here is something almost nobody talks about. Heavy screen time can sometimes make children appear more likely to score higher on autism screening questionnaires, because many of the behaviors being measured depend on practice. Imagine a toddler spending several hours each day watching videos instead of interacting with people. That child may point less, gesture less, practice less pretend play, have fewer back-and-forth conversations, spend less time reading facial expressions. Those are the same behaviors parents answer questions about during autism screenings. That does not automatically mean the child has autism. It means those behaviors can be influenced by reduced opportunities for social interaction. That is why screening questionnaires are not diagnostic tests. They simply identify children who may need a more comprehensive evaluation. Here is what the research does not show. No high-quality study has demonstrated that screen time causes autism. Autism is a neurodevelopmental condition with strong genetic influences that begins very early in brain development. Researchers are studying whether heavy screen exposure may influence social communication skills, how symptoms appear, or how children perform on screening questionnaires. That is very different from saying screens create autism, and that distinction matters. So what should parents take away from all of this? The goal is not to fear screens. The goal is to remember what screens can replace: conversation, play, reading together, building forts, cooking dinner, playing outside, laughing, exploring, following your child's interests. The brain is not built through passive observation. It is built through interaction. Every smile, every shared laugh, every game of peekaboo, every conversation, every moment spent connecting with another human being is helping build the social brain. The next time someone says, "Screens cause autism," or "Screens have nothing to do with autism," remember this. The science is much more nuanced than that. What researchers have found is a correlation, not proof of causation. But one thing is certain: children do not just need information, they need interaction. Because the most important technology a child's brain was ever designed for is another human being. If you enjoy learning about the science behind child development and everyday life, subscribe to Curious by Nature. There is always more to discover.